Welcome to Busted Speakers. I'm Kush.
I'm Alex.
And I'm Cam.
And today we're reviewing Little Fictions by Elbow. So Elbow's a indie rock, alternative rock band from Britain, and this is their 7th album, and their previous albums have gotten like really great reviews overall. I don't have much experience with Elbow. I know I've been hearing a lot of hype, and I think this album really just does live up to the hype. I enjoyed every song on this album. I thought it was fantastic, and it was unique. It was dark when it needed to be. It was fun when it needed to be. There was varied song lengths. I think it was just an incredible album from start to finish for me.
Yeah, I've been into Elbow I've enjoyed them for years, and the thing is though, even though I've really enjoyed them, I've never been that excited about them. I've always recognised them as a good band, sometimes making great material, but sometimes they have some quite boring and bland material, and they have the sort of sound that enables them to do that, even though I know they can do better. However, Little Fictions I think was one of the best they've ever made. Top 2 or 3, along with their 2008 probably most critically acclaimed one, The Seldom Seen Kid. A lot of times like indie rock like this is with orchestral elements can be pretty corny or doesn't work at all, but Elbow throughout the songs that has it, really pull it off, and I'm just really impressed and really surprised by how well they pulled this one off.
Yeah, I don't have any experience with them either. Like, from what I can recall, I've only ever seen them mentioned as just like, a band that people like, but I've never seen anybody like say, Elbow is like one of the absolute great underappreciated rock bands of the modern era and everything. It's just like they're a band that, people are fans of. They understand that, they don't have as much of a reach as some other indie bands, but it's like they're just happy to sit on the gem that the band is. And if this is anything like the rest of their albums, then I can definitely see it. This was just a great experience, just really interesting songs for one thing, and it's great to be able to say that, and a really lovely sound. It's just really good album.
I'm really happy that you guys liked it that much, because I was worried that it'd be like too boring, because some aspects of their other material is not boring, maybe that's been a bit too harsh, but just not immediate. Like, they never have one of the best songs ever on one of their albums, or something that gets me really excited until now, I'd say. I
mean, so for the most part, in the actual song listing, there was not one song where I didn't enjoy as much as the other songs.
Right.
I think they were all good. They all had they all fit into the album really well, and they all had their place that needed to be. One thing I was confused about, head for supplies. What does that mean? I couldn't figure out what that lyric meant, like head for supplies.
I don't know. I don't have I do have the lyrics right in front of me. Different tab. But I wasn't reading them while I was listening to the album, but I think it's kind of like a post-apocalyptic song, and it's like, we're going to head for supplies. We head out for supplies, like coming out of your bunker and going to fetch, food or weapons or something like that.
I was thinking like head as in like the thing on your body for supplies, and I was like, that doesn't make much sense. And then I started thinking about Swiss Army Man, the movie that came out with Daniel Radcliffe, and like where his body did like weird things. And I was like, maybe their head has like fire breathing or like a screwdriver in his nose. I don't know. It clicks now. It makes sense now.
Yeah.
But
that's a really weird connection.
But yeah, so I think my favorite song was Little Fictions, the 8-minute, the 9-minute song.
8.5,
yeah.
That's one hell of a song.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it starts off like very theatrical intro, like this orchestral, and it's building tension, and then they add an aggressive drum line, and then they talk about like being defensive about your imagination. So like, I guess like they have these things they're thinking of that they want to do or whatnot, and they're being defensive, and they want to be defensive about it because they don't want people to tell them they can't do this and they can't do that. And then it goes from like a theatrical song to a very minimalistic song, and then to more of an alternative rock song. And I think the switch ups can make it almost 3 different songs, but I think I'm glad they kept it as one long song with a continuous theme going through it. that was just an incredible song for me. I thought that was really well made. But I really can't say anything bad about any of these songs. I just really enjoyed it. The Trust the Sun sounded very Red Hot Chili Peppers-esque with the guitar riff.
Yeah.
Not as upbeat, more low-key, but the bass line and the guitar riff sounded like older Chili Pepper stuff. I think I forgot who he credited for the word for all disco. He credited someone. I don't remember who.
I have no idea.
Let me search it up. But I think that song was just really good. I think it had me feeling for Valentine's Day again. After what Train did to Valentine's Day, but it's another it's another good romance song with obviously some overused tropes, but in the context it sounded pretty good, and it was unique and it was fun. But I'm gonna find out who said the all disco thing because they credited someone. I don't remember who.
Even though I really like all disco, but I don't fully understand the chorus. What does it prove if you die for a tune that's really all disco?
It was by the Pixies.
It's not bad. I
Pixies.
just don't fully understand the meaning behind that.
So I think when they say all disco, I think here let me find the thing on Genius because I was reading the lyrics going along with this album. And
All right, well, while you're pulling that up, can I say what I think it is?
sure, go ahead.
I've noticed that disco seemed to kind of be 90s slang for cool, but it's like something that not a lot of people actually use. Like, you guys have seen Pulp Fiction, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You remember when Mia is directing Vince to the intercom? She's like, he's around the corner. She's like, warmer, disco. Then in How I Met Your Mother, like in Lily's flashbacks with Scooter, he says, I got accepted to umpire school or whatever, and she's just like, disco, and I'm just, disco. So I guess disco is just like I don't know if it's regional because both those examples I gave were American and these guys are English, but I guess it's just a slang term that kind of got around to some people. I don't know.
I don't know, but they're definitely a band that would have been around in the 90s. The guys growing up to adopt that term if they were fans of the film, maybe.
Here,
yeah, that's kind of cool to learn about.
Here's a quote. Here's like a bit of a long quote from his actual interview about the song. So he said, "I remembered the phrase that Black Francis of the Pixies, Charles' his real name, I interviewed him for a radio station 10 years ago in Lynchburg, Tennessee. I was talking to him about between him and Black Francis, Frank Black, and all those different incarnations, and he said, and I said, all these different styles of music, where are you going to go next? That was my question, and he said something along the line of, you have punk rock, you have rock, you have blues, you have soul, it's all disco. I just love that attitude, and from one of the most influential people, particularly to me, in alternative music, for him to have this attitude, like I've put everything into it, invest everything into it. But remember, it's not everything. I think that's a really good way of doing it. He's not having any money, but he just gave us a good chorus. So I think, I think it was a good song, and there's a lot of interpretations you can take for that. I think that's the best part about it.
Yeah, definitely.
I love the community choir at the end of it, how they harmonise with Guy Garvey, the lead vocalist. That was a really, really strong vocal point of this album, I'd say.
Yeah, that's incredible. The other song was A Gentle Storm. He reminded me of Frank Sinatra a little bit. I don't know if that's a stretch, but I kind of felt that Frank Sinatra-esque voice coming in, but I don't know, it might be a stretch.
I think that's a little bit of a stretch. I didn't hear that, but maybe I wasn't listening for it. This is the type of song I think Elbow really excel at, because they never do it. They never have a minimal song like Gentle Storm. They always have overblown sounds that you can't even hear the band members, all of them, at some points. But Gentle Storm is really minimal, and it's just a really loose performance with rusty percussion, which reminded me of Radiohead's packed like sardines in a crushed tin box, because the percussion sounded like it was getting hit on tin cans a little bit, but still sounded really good. And from a technical standpoint, this is a really great song, rhythm-wise, and I just love that they're doing more minimal vibes with their sound, because they rarely ever do it now.
Yeah, at the risk of falling into what I call first track syndrome, my favorite songs on the album were "Gentle Storm," like you guys, and um, yeah, "Magnificent," she says, which I guess was also the
Yeah.
lead single. I I don't know why. Like, for one thing, I love anything like a rock album these days where I can like really hear the bass, because it's just like something I noticed when I was like first getting into music. That maybe it was just like, mid 2000s loudness war going on, but I just like couldn't make out bass in a lot of songs unless it was like a specific bass part, And
Yeah.
I just loved being able to hear the bass in this song. And then this is also just maybe a more personal thing, but I just fell in love with the fact that he wrote a song. I mean, like, what I took from it at least is that it's about his daughter, like about his
Yeah.
child. And you don't hear that sort of thing anymore. It's just such a beautiful personal thing that, you can tell he really internalized it and created a great song around it. And it's like just such a simple thing, like just making your song about something, making it meaningful, and just, making it a great song just out of the emotion that brings it in you. I feel like yeah.
This is a
But,
very joyous song. It's like a
yeah.
celebration on how great life will be
Yeah,
for her.
it's like we have this, and we have "Isn't She Lovely" by Stevie Wonder, and really, do we need anything else? That's just like the entirety of music right there. All we need.
I love
And then,
the line, and my heart there defrosting in her gaze. It's like he was a cold, cynical man, and then his daughter like brings whole new life to him. I love stuff like that. It's like it shows that they're really human and relatable in that way.
yeah. And then with "Gentle Storm," like, I just love how, like you were saying, it's like almost nothing but percussion. Like, that's just the main instrumentation of it is percussion. How often do you hear that ever? But especially by a band with as much, indie cred as they have. Like, this isn't going to be a radio hit. They're not going to have like a career renaissance from this song if they, need one or whatever. But it's just like something that says there is still a spark of creativity in rock bands these days. It's there. I really want somebody else to take inspiration from this and see what they can do with it. It was really exciting.
They did actually release as the third single, Gentle Storm, which surprised me. Yeah, after Magnificent, she says, in All Disco. Yeah.
Did you guys hear, like, so Firebrand and Angel? We didn't talk about that one yet.
No.
I'm not a fan of the clapping intro, but I think I overlooked that because there's so many more elements going on that didn't really bother me. Did you guys notice it kind of sounded like an Animal Collective instrumental?
Slightly, I think, actually.
Because
I thought it was like more complex than what they were usually doing.
Yeah, I imagined, the song "My Girls" by Animal Collective.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
I think that one and this one were very similar in terms of instrumentation. But yeah,
Maybe.
that was a good
I don't know
song.
about
I
that.
don't know. I felt like every song on here was just something different, something unique, and something just really interesting to listen to. Especially "Kindling" was a fantastic closing track.
Yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous imagery, and I think imagery in music is just so great because there's no visual aspect to it unless you watch a music video, obviously. But I don't normally watch music videos, and when you're just listening to an album just for listening to it, you hear all these things that you normally wouldn't hear, or you picture all these things in the way that they want you to picture it. So I know we didn't cover it on this channel, but Otis Gibbs released an album earlier this year, and he had some fantastic imagery. He's like a what do you call it? Alt country, Americana sort of musician, and he had fantastic imagery throughout the whole song. And whole album, and I thought this was something what Otis Gibbs would have written, in terms of just like being able to picture every single line, what's happening in every single line. And they have that thing going throughout the entire album for them, anyways.
The cool thing about kindling is band member Craig Potter actually uses some actual kindling for fire lighting on the song to create a kind of grainy rhythm, which I thought was a cool touch.
Really?
Yeah, and I really like the spoken word bit at the end of this song. You can hear the band saying, it's just touches like that just make this seem like a more relatable album than usual.
I mean,
that we hear.
President of What did that in. I know we reviewed their album a while back. They did the leaving things in, but I think theirs wasn't as. Theirs was just kind of like a comedy effect more than like actual addition to the album. I think this was really good, and I think I'm glad they left it in.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was they were talking about the guy who was playing the Kindling. Like that wasn't actually that bad because I think it must have been some experiment they tried to add to it, which really worked.
Yeah, it sounds gorgeous.
Montparnasse, how do you say Montparnasse?
Montparnasse. I don't know.
Montparnasse.
Yeah.
It's French, probably.
However the hell you say it. I really love minimal songs like this, just where they buckle down, get a nice solid melody. And you were saying in the review for Foxygen Cam that bands sometimes don't ever stay with one groove. Sometimes.
Sure.
Elbow are definitely a band that stay with one sound for the whole song and stay with it. I don't know.
I think that song had the most emotion for a single song in the whole record. Even though like a lot of these songs are emotional, I think that one was just the most like glaring. Like the whoever was singing just put so much like heart into that song, and that really paid off for it. And it was a great song too.
Yeah, Guy Garvey has such an impressive vocal range, and he has a distinct vocals. You can tell it's him whenever you hear him, which is actually quite rare. Whenever you hear a vocalist, you can tell who it is. Like if you hear another Elbow song, you'll know it's them because of his vocals, basically.
Yeah.
The only problem I vaguely have with Elbow, and this is in general, it's actually not really in this album, is that they never have really that great lyrics, but they are pretty good here. But they're just sometimes they're too abstract and nonsensical, and get repeated too many times.
They had that in this album too, but I think after
it wasn't
like
as
reading,
much of a problem.
Yeah, after reading and analyzing, I think it makes more sense. But like that's like homework. I don't really want to do homework when I listen to music. So
that's true. Most of the time, they're a good enough band and instrumentally and vocally to counter this problem on their other albums, but you know they have enough great melodies that even if they don't have enough lyrics and they're kind of nonsensical and don't mean that much on some songs, that I don't mind. And I just wanted to say for Little Fictions, I know we talked about it a little bit earlier, but that is probably the most excited I've ever been by an orchestration. It went really fast paced. It sounded like a chase scene from some TV finale or an end of a film. It was that cathartic and climactic. I just loved it. I love when songs have stuff like that.
What would you rate it, Alex?
I would give it an 8. This was a really strong effort from Elbow, and they really impressed me again. I didn't think they would, because their last 2 albums were pretty good, but slowly getting a bit more boring. But I think this is a pretty good comeback album, and I'm glad people are enjoying it.
How about you, Cam?
I'm gonna give it an 8 as well. I don't know. I don't think I can really say anything else on top of this. It's just really pretty, really satisfying, very heartfelt, extremely unique in some places, at least for modern rock. I'm really looking forward to hearing it again.
Yeah, so I'm gonna give it an 8 as well. I think every song is fantastic on here. Everything is great. There's some lyrical kinks that I didn't enjoy, but that's whatever. I think it really just the performance really took over for that. And besides that, I think I wish for a little bit more diversity in music, but I think as a composition, this was just a fantastic album, and I would definitely listen to it over again, easily.
Definitely.
And if that's it, then
one more time.
Well, it helps that I've actually got the CD for this, so I kind of have to hear it again and again, kind of. But I love it so much, I don't mind.
Yeah, for sure. That's it. Thanks for tuning in to Busted Speakers. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like and subscribe. Let us know how you feel about this album in the comments below, and check us out on social media.